Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So extremely busy week coming up here. Lots of earnings, lots of huge companies reporting. Definitely a week where you may be pretty active with all sorts of options for different types of events. And if you're like me, you'll probably be involved with a bunch of spreads, right? And I thought this morning, and just kind of like a general thought for me is when it comes to spreads, you really need to be mindful of the risk to reward. Okay, um, for me, my minimum threshold is typically 2 to 1. I'd like higher than 2 to 1, but 2 to 1 is just about the lowest. Like I will go. Meaning like if I'm risking 2.5 points, then I need to at least be able to make five, right? So risk 2.5 to make five. So 2 to 1 risk to reward. Um, and sometimes you just can't get that, right? And for me, that's kind of like the point where I say, okay, I need to like walk away from like the trade. So for many, probably wasn't something on your watch list or focus list, but this TCDA had been a bio I was watching for the entire month of October for data. The big thing with TCDA is that because the timeline was October, whether it came before October 21st expiration which was this Friday, mattered a lot versus the November 18th expiration, because the pricing was quite a bit different. Um, for me, I was in the October 21st expiration contracts, hoping that we'd get data before Friday, which didn't happen. Data came this morning, so all those contracts expired Friday, and now if you were in November options, it ended up moving. The big issue was that for November options, the pricing was just so high that I couldn't figure out like a good strategy to go after it where there was that 2 to 1 risk to reward. So even though my options expired Friday, like I couldn't roll out to November because there wasn't that minimum risk to reward situation where it really made sense for me. So while it's disappointing that my options expire and then literally the next session the data comes out and stock drops 95%, like what are you going to do, right? I mean, I really try to stick to like the process, right? 2 to 1, because if I start risking $3 to only make $1, or risk $4 to make like $1.50, at the end of the day, like it's just not like a good situation to keep putting myself in over and over again. So um, as disappointing as it is, it's just one of those things where you just have to realize that sometimes the setup just isn't there, and as much as you think it's going to be a move and may want to participate, like the risk reward just doesn't make sense. And that's also what's playing into like the thinking behind Madrigal. As of right now, the November 18th expiration options are priced so high that couldn't really figure out like a good strategy to fall into that 2 to 1 risk reward category, even higher. So I do think that there's a chance that Madrigal has a really, really, really big move when the data finally is released. But until I can find a strategy that makes sense from a risk reward perspective, I just would have to be a spectator or look at some other name that maybe would possibly move with Madrigal, right? So um, it's just, these are things you're going to encounter. I mean, I'm talking about two bios right now, but I mean, the idea is the same for upcoming earnings this week and next week, and whatever events you end up playing over the next few weeks, right? This idea of risk reward is really important when it comes to like spreads, because at any given time, you know what your max profit potential is going to be, right? If the spreads cap out, and you know what your max loss is going to be if the trade goes to a zero. So at any given time what your risk reward is, and opening trades with like a minimum 2 to 1 risk reward is really important to me. Okay, so just food for thought as we get into like a busy stretch of news here. Okay, so if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings or trading events with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the window for more information on options and play. Have a great night, stay well, and I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.